Okay, now on the agenda is the receiving petitions and or correspondence from the public. Ms. Berry, how many people do we have signed up?
2 this evening.
2?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to allot 4, I don't know, who are the individuals?
Mr. and Mrs. Gabbard.
Oh, great. Would 4 minutes be sufficient? 4 or 5 minutes? Okay. Okay. All right, who's first, Ms. Berry?
Ms. Gabbard.
I'm sorry?
Mrs. Gabbard.
Gabbard?
Yes.
I'm sure you won't recognize my name because of my husband.
If you would, please name and address for the record, please.
My name is Bonnie Gabbard. I'm at 1221 Valley View Drive in Front Royal. I'm here tonight because I felt like I needed to let you all know how the citizens feel about everything that's going on. I'm sure you've heard a lot from other people, but when I look at Facebook and I look at the social media, I see a bunch of really angry, concerned citizens. They're concerned about everything that has been happening, the increases in everything, the EDA. Everybody feels like they're not being heard. And I know that there's not a lot of people that usually come to these meetings. It would be nice if we could get 200, 300, 400 people here so that you could actually hear their concerns in person. But people work, and they usually work in the city. So they have long commutes, and they have children, and they have families. And by the time they get home, 7 o'clock, they just can't make these meetings. But what they can do is in the evenings, they can go on their computer and they can put on Facebook how they feel. And I think that all of you should really start looking at those comments on Facebook so you can really see how the citizens feel and what their needs are. There's a few things that I just wanted to touch base on. And one is the tax increase. I know that you all did not actually pass an increase in real estate taxes. However, because of the assessments, there should have been an adjustment to the taxes of the real estate. That would have taken the real estate tax down to 12 cents, 12.1 cents or something like that. You all wanted to have a 15-cent increase, but that didn't pass through. So you kept it at the 13-cent rate. So in essence, you did increase the real estate taxes on people. Everybody knows their taxes went up, and that's why. The electric rates, they were increased. And you all said you hadn't had a rate in 10 years. Actually, in 2017, there was an electric increase. It may not have been a rate increase, but it was an increase to the citizens for their electricity that they use. It was called a facilities fee. So that was 2 years for an increase this year and then an increase 2 years ago. That's a lot of money for people to put out. There has been an increase in something from 2011. In 2011, there was an increase in personal property taxes, water rates, and sewer rates. In 2012, there was an increase in electricity rates. In 2013, there was not an increase. But in 2014, there was an increase in water rates by 6.5% and in sewer rates by 10%. In 2015, I think everybody figured out, oh, well, that was too much of an increase for sewer, so now we're going to lower the sewers by 6.5%, so in essence it was a 4% increase. In 2016 and 17, there was a trash increase. In 2018, there was the electric increase. And now in 2019, there's this other electric increase. So there has been an increase in something that the citizens pay every year for almost 10 years. There's got to be a time when it stops. People cannot afford this. There are people that have families and they don't make a lot of money. They're not wealthy people. Most of the people in the town are working class people, middle income working class people. And when they have to pay for their mortgages, they have to pay for their car payments, they have to pay for food, they have to pay. Who can afford it? My electric bill has gone up almost 40% since this increase. And everybody says, oh, well, it was the PCA tax. The PCA is going to go away and that's going to kind of level it out. Well, it didn't level it out. It didn't level it out at all. And when is the PCA tax going to come back again? So these are issues that you all really need to listen to the town people about. Try and cut the budget, items in the budget. Have you all actually looked at this budget line by line item? I have. I've looked at it line by line and I've looked at it by department. And there are a lot of things in there that I think that could be cut. I was in financial management for years. That's all I ever did. So I know how to read a budget. If any of you need to know how to do this, I can certainly sit with you and help you do it. But you all need to start thinking about the citizens of the town and not about what you all have already decided you're going to do before you even have a public hearing. And that's what people think. People think, why come to these meetings? They've already decided what they're going to do before we even get there. And I have to agree with them because I think that's the way it is too. The other issue is the hospital. I know you all have probably heard about this over and over and over again, but I've never said it, so I'm going to say it. I think it's really bad that you all voted to let this hospital come in like it is. There's only going to be 36 beds in this hospital, and you all are talking about growth in Front Royal. Where are these people going to go if they get sick and they need a hospital? There's only going to be 36 beds. I mean, there's a whole lot more than 36 people in the town, and at any one time, there could be a whole lot more than 36 people that need a hospital. So you're going to cart them all the way over to Winchester? How fair is that to somebody that's sick? Okay, and the obstetrics unit. I mean, I can understand that it's not going to be a lot of money for the hospital and that the hospital could possibly lose money because of the obstetrics unit because they don't have that many babies and deliver that many babies. But with the growth that you all are anticipating and that you want to do, don't you think that's going to mean more people, more babies, more pregnancies? These women are going to have to go all the way over to Winchester to have their babies be born. And I have children. I won't have any anymore, but I have children, so I know that it only takes a split second for you to have that baby. And a lot of these women are going to be having babies in the cars going to Winchester. It's not fair. And it's not fair that you all would not talk with Valley Health and try and make it a little more friendly to the citizens of the town. I think that you all need to start thinking about these things and realizing that the citizens need to be heard more. They need to be listened to more. And just because they don't show up at these meetings, it doesn't mean that their voice isn't important. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for those comments. Two quick things. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, August 5th, is that the meeting where the council's going to have the audit discussion?
Yes, it's scheduled for August 6th. August 5th.
And then we have a scheduled meeting for, we're going to start the budget process early this year. And what date was that, the first meeting for that?
We're going to start August 19th, and the budget process was establishing strategic goals for council.
Okay, could I say one more thing? I'll be quick, I promise. I just thought about it. A finance committee. I know that there's a finance committee because I've read something about it somewhere. But I was on the finance committee when I worked, and I reported to the board of directors. And I think that there should be a Front Royal a town citizen on that finance committee to work with the staff to maybe try and present things to the board of directors, because I know, as having done this, it's very difficult as an employee to tell a board member, well, you know, the project that you want to do this year, we really can't do because we don't have the funds for that.
Right.
That's really difficult for an employee to do, but a town citizen could really do that. And I think that the town would be more involved in it, the citizens would be more involved in it.
Great.
And they wouldn't feel like you're trying to hide anything.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Berry, who's next on the?
Mr. Gabbard.
Mr. Gabbard.
It's a family affair.
That's good.
Paul Gabbard, 1221 Valley View
I'm
Drive.
sorry, what was your first name?
Paul,
Paul.
welcome to the council, Mr. Tedder.
Thank you.
The first thing I want to say is I believe I'm with you as far as EDA. The EDA should be dissolved. It should go away. It shouldn't come back. The lawsuits against it, take your losses and run. The lawsuits are spending money, spending our tax money for nothing. We're not going to see anything back from it. The EDA doesn't have anything to sue for. It's a waste of time. Go after the properties they hold. Go after other things that they hold that are worth something. But get rid of the EDA. Mr. T-Walt, I agree 100% with you on the workforce housing land. All the stipulations should be taken off of it. It should be taken back to town codes. I agree 100% with you on that. The builder shouldn't get what was promised and what is in there now. Mr. Mez, I'm going to pick on you a little bit again tonight. Your vote on the bond for the new hospital, to me, was a very cheap political tactic. You recused yourself from the rezoning vote, but not from the bond vote. The town attorney said he saw nothing wrong with you voting on it because of you saying you could be impartial even though you worked for Valley Health. You should have recused yourself. You had no business voting on that bond. This is also my belief. The arrogance that you have brought to your council seat is appalling.
Mr. Gabbard, let me interrupt you real quick. I have no issue whatsoever you petitioning this council and sharing your feelings, but I just ask you to be careful as far as walking the line, as far as attacking member council's character in this setting. Robert's Rules of Order specifically precludes that, so I just ask you to make sure you walk that line carefully.
Very well.
Thank you.
For any of you councilmen, I'll go this way. For any of you councilmen thinking what you want over what the citizens want is appalling. The other thing that I would like to say is, as far as the EDA is concerned, there are 3 women in jail. Well, let me put it this way. There's 4 women in jail in Front Royal, 2 from the EDA. One of those women should stay in jail for her own safety. Let's put it that way. The other one should have been out on bond. If it was a man, he would have been out on bond as soon as he went to court. So to sum that up, we have 2 women from the EDA in jail, 1 woman that was at the jail who supposedly was, doing some things. So 3 women in jail and the hospital that doesn't have a maternity ward. I don't think I'd want to be a woman in this town or county. My wife and I have been retired since 2005. We have done what we want, gone where we want, anytime, anywhere. With the way I see this town and county, I feel that I needed to do something. I'm willing to put my time in. I'm in the process of getting signatures to add my name on the special elections in November for mayor. And I hope I can come up with them. I think I could be a clear voice. I think I could be a voice for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gabbard. Appreciate your time. Ms. Berry, is there anyone else?
That was the last speaker, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council? Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is report of special committees or town officials and town manager. Mr. Waltz?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. A couple announcements. I want to let citizens know that we're still continuing pavement marking, line painting, and curb painting throughout town. Please use caution while driving around those areas and pay attention to the traffic cones. And we're trying to defer as much excess paint on the pavement as possible. We're also continually doing night work up on North Shenandoah and 14th Street. This is for water improvement infrastructures. Please bear with us. We still got a couple more weeks of night work up there as well. Also want to remind the citizens that we are continuing recycling. We're starting single stream recycling, so there will be no need to separate your recyclables. So hopefully that will encourage more residents to recycle. And that includes my report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any members of council have any questions for Mr. Waltz? Okay, next on the agenda is a report from the superintendent of Shenandoah National Park, Jennifer Flynn. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing me some time on your agenda this evening to talk with you about your national park. My name is Jennifer Flynn. It's my great honor to serve as superintendent for Shenandoah. Often when I have these presentations, folks ask me to talk a little bit about what it takes to operate the park, and in many ways it's a lot like operating a small town. The park is almost 200,000 acres, 40% of which is congressionally designated wilderness, which is the highest level of protection that federal land can have. We're home to over 1,406 species of plants and 53 species of animals. We care for the cultural objects and sites that tell the story of the mountain residents, a presidential retreat, segregation and desegregation, and the Civilian Conservation Corps. We operate 4 wastewater treatment plants, 14 public water systems. We have over 500 miles of trail, lodges, campgrounds, and restaurants. And most iconically, we have Skyline Drive and the views that define the Shenandoah visit. People come to the park for what they see from the park. We do this with about a $24 million operating budget. Annually, about $12 million comes to us through Congress. That number has fluctuated somewhat over the decade that I've been at Shenandoah, but we're consistently in the $12 million range. The great benefit that Shenandoah has is that we also have recreational fees. So the money that we collect at the campgrounds and the entry stations, 80% of that money stays at Shenandoah and is used at our discretion for things that directly impact visitors who come to the park. That equates to about $8 million in additional park spending. The difference between those two, between the 12 million and the 8, that gives us about 20, and then we have philanthropic donations, money from our concessionaire that operates in the park, and other project funds that come to us through federal highways and other sources. We execute this work with about 280 employees. Right now, we're at about our peak for the year in the middle of the summer. By the middle of the winter, we'll be down to about 160 or so. And we have a lot of partners. We have 4 formal partners. The Shenandoah National Park Association is our philanthropic partner, and they're based in Charlottesville. This year, they granted to the park $450,000 for specific projects. We also have our partner in our bookstores, the Shenandoah National Park Association, and they are strictly our education partner, and they help us operate the visitor center both here in Warren County at Dickey Ridge and at Bird Visitor Center in the middle of the park. The Potomac Appalachian Trail Club helps us take care of 300 miles of trails, including the 100 miles of Appalachian Trail found in the park. And finally, the Delaware North Corporation, who runs our concession facilities, those lodges and restaurants that are inside the park. They do that under contract with the government. We are in our 6th year of a 10-year contract, and this winter they put a new roof on the Big Meadows Lodge and completely restored the Big Meadows Wayside. That Wayside operation is not fully back open. We expect that to happen in the middle of August, and when it does, visitors will be able to dine on the meadow side of the restaurant, of the facility, with the view of the meadow, and the store will be on the parking lot side. That was a functional flip there. Shenandoah is doing pretty well. The government shutdown was impactful to the park. The shutdown from December 22nd to January 25th was the longest in U.S. history, but it came at a period of low visitation for the park. We missed crucial planning and hiring processes. It's delayed some of that, but we were grateful that it wasn't felt by the public in the way that an October shutdown has been. Although there was some misuse of the park when we had limited staff on, for every person who disrespected the park, it seemed that there were 3 who tried to lessen the damage. The many acts of kindness and excellent stewardship exhibited by so many of our visitors reaffirmed for me how much people care about Shenandoah. I'm thankful for the members of our community who were such careful stewards in our absence. For you all, there was particularly a trash angel who seemed to be emptying the trash cans at Dickey Ridge every day. My staff went up to take pictures for me about how bad things were, and every single trash can had been emptied and new bags had been put in place. We're especially appreciative of the Shenandoah National Park Trust and the many community organizations, businesses, and citizens who offered help and support in a variety of ways to my staff. I am humbled by the generous spirit with which our employees were supported. The care of our employees' well-being, above all, was deeply appreciated. Even before the shutdown, things were trying. 2018 was a record-breaking weather year for Shenandoah and our region. Our rain measurements at Big Meadows were 99.56 inches for 2018. Our prior record had been 68.34, and that was in 2003. Our annual average is about 52 inches, so we had almost double our average rainfall last year. The waterfalls and creeks were really full, and the fire danger was low, but it did not help our visitation. We are a weather-dependent park, and for 2018, we were down 13% over the year before. The park had roughly 1.27 million visitors in 2018. 2019 has been better. At the end of May, we were up 5% from the year before, And just looking from May to May, we were up almost 13%. So we are on track to have a very good summer if we can keep the rain away from the weekends. I would like to offer that we think having a national park as a neighbor is a good thing. Every year, the National Park Service commissions a study of the economic impact that parks have on their communities. For 2018, visitors spent $86.9 million in the communities around the park. Their spending supported over 1,000 jobs, not including the 300 jobs that Delaware North has or the park jobs I already discussed. Front Royal has long understood the value of this relationship, and I appreciate your commitment to helping to protect Shenandoah. Your tourism and development staff have been engaged with Shenandoah and my other parks, Cedar Creek and Belle Grove, and we've appreciated Felicia's work with the Celebrate Shenandoah group and with the groups from Warren County to try to activate tourism in the foothills of the park as well. I want to remind you that we do have 5 days a year that are free, that there's a fee-free admission, and we still have 3 of those left for this year. So August 25th is a fee-free day. That's the National Park Service's birthday. September 28th is a National Public Lands Day. And November 11th, Veterans Day, are all fee-free days. We do have a park-specific fee-free day, which is always the 3rd Saturday in June. It's passed for this year, but for 2020, that will be on June 20th. A couple things that I'm keeping in mind as I look forward to 2020. We can continue to be concerned about the exotic insects, plants, and animals that come into the park. It seems with ever-increasing rapidity. The emerald ash borer is well established in the park, and we're getting to see fatal trees in the North District. We have a large project starting next month where we're going to take down 85 trees along Skyline Drive, almost exclusively ash. So the emerald ash borer's effects are already being seen. 4% of Shenandoah's canopy is ash, so this will have a significant impact to the park. Chronic wasting disease within deer is still worrisome to us. Series of years ago, maybe 6 or 7, we established a chronic wasting disease response plan. That response plan has not kicked in. It requires that we have the disease within 5 miles of the park. However, we do have it within 10 miles, both in Shenandoah County and Culpeper County. So we continue to watch that. And I just remind you that if the disease does reach the park, our plan does call for the targeted removal of some of the deer herd. We anticipate that the public will be highly engaged in that, and I mention it because it's been so long since the plan went through public review that I just want to remind folks that it's still out there. We're beginning an environmental review for a project to apply terrestrial lime to a watershed in the South District to try to mitigate the effects of acid rain. We're planning for a new entrance station at Front Royal. It's still years in the making, but we're in the scoping point now to try to get a new entrance station that's going to be safer for our staff. And we're also looking at ways that we can mitigate the traffic impacts that the park has in the fall by expediting folks through there. And then finally, we've had a very active bear management year. We've had 11 bears hit by cars on Skyline Drive, which is on par to be our highest level that we've recorded if we continue on the trend that we are on. And we've had lots of food rewarded animals, which means bear that have gotten food either from the trash or from folks who have left food unattended in campgrounds or picnic grounds or in the backcountry. So we are certainly seeing a lot of bear activity this year. I will end by just saying how much I appreciate you giving me this time on your agenda, and I welcome any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you, Ms. Flynn. Appreciate that. That was a great report. Any members of council have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but just a comment, Ms. Flynn, that was a great report. Thank you for coming out and sharing it with us. I've been here on council for over 3 years, and I haven't had an update like that on Skyline Drive in Shenandoah Park, and it was very informative, so thank you for doing that. I hopefully we could have you back at some time in the near future.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Mr. Gillespie?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for you and your team. You guys are very important to our community, and just want to say thank you and I appreciate you what you do.
Thank you very much.
Any other members? Ms. Flynn, I had a couple of questions, and one, and you may not have the answer. Last week, I had a meeting with the county chairman and county administrator, Doug Stanley.
Yep.
And I happened to ask, the property as you go south on 340 at the intersection of 340 and Kreiser Road, to the right of that, it's my understanding that that's park property across from 7-Eleven.
Yeah, on the same side of the road as the high school.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
And I inquired with Mr. Stanley, it's in the county portion of our locality, and I inquired if something could be done as it relates to the county purchasing that property or the town purchasing that property or some kind of joint effort as it relates to that property. Other than it, I was told it was just going to remain a park asset as a buffer. Is that your understanding as well? I just wanted to.
Yeah, we have no plans for expansion there, for housing or trails or other facilities. Generally, we cannot sell our land, but what we can consider is a land swap.
Right.
And so if the town and the county wanted to make a proposal to the park about swapping something that's contiguous with the park somewhere else, that is certainly something that we would weigh and consider. But we're not allowed to sell the federal asset.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, that's what Mr. Stanley mentioned as well. It's just such a valuable piece of property and high business piece of property. It'd be great to have some kind of.
Yeah, we have a couple odd boundary issues in Front Royal and in Warren County.
Yeah, that's what
Bus Barn is actually on park property. We abut a couple other facilities. So yeah, I'm very interested in trying to clean that up, but I'm not quite sure what opportunities are open to us. So we really are waiting on a proposal to respond to.
Interesting. Did you get that, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, great. No, thank you. The second question I had, it relates to the, you mentioned the gate improvement here in Front Royal. I had a meeting recently with Chief McGillis and sent out a warning order to try to figure out what we could do to help traffic flow more smoothly during the fall season. And I think this gate improvement might help. But in the interim, if you have any suggestions that perhaps you and you could relay to Chief McGillis, that'd be much appreciated. I know, having grown up here, it's a blessing and a curse on a beautiful Saturday. Citizens can't get around our community very, very well. And, look, we recognize that's going to be the case, but if there's some suggested ideas, some creative ideas that you have, I know Chief is working diligently on his end, and he's hopeful to try to come up with some suggestions that will help the traffic flow.
Yeah, we are absolutely aware of the impacts that it has. This last fall was particularly a perfect storm, right? We had rainy weekends. Yeah. Then we had one spectacular weekend. Yeah. And when I was home watching the news, and every station in DC said, if you were ever going to go to Skyline Drive, you should go tomorrow. Right. I knew it was going to be a terrible day. Right. Because we just poured everybody into the park on the same day. But yes, we are happy to do that. I know the Rangers in the North District work really closely with both the Sheriff's Department and the city to try to communicate and ease that as much as they can. Ultimately, what we're challenged with is we can build something that takes in that visitation for those 3 or 4 weekends a year at a huge expense, or we can sort of band-aid it as best we can. Sure. And we have the same issue at our Thornton Gap entrance station. Thornton Gap and Front Royal tend to be the two where traffic backs up to impact either the highway or the community. And so we have been trying to push visitors to use Thornton Gap as well, but then obviously that takes them out of the town. Yeah. So there's a downside to every choice it seems that we make. But absolutely we appreciate that that's an ongoing issue, and we welcome the conversations.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other questions from council or Mr. Waltz or? Ms. Lund, thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, requests and inquiries of council members. Any members of council have anything you'd like to say? Okay, great. Hearing none, report of the interim mayor. I have a few items. One item is I wanted to update the council on the town and county liaison meeting that took place last week. It was my first meeting. Mr. Gillespie attended. In general, I think it was a productive meeting. It was perhaps a little bit more contentious than meetings have been in the past. I think that's healthy. Mr. Murray and I and Mr. Gillespie and we just had a good round of discussion about various issues. One particular topic that I brought up was the possibility of having a possibility of dissolving EDA. Now, once again, I want to go on record. I am not in any position to say today that it absolutely should be dissolved. I don't believe we have enough information on that matter. We don't know any idea what the impacts are and how the timetable, but I do believe that we need to have that discussion. Fortunately, Mr. Murray, I believe, got to the point where he agreed that a discussion was warranted. We agreed in principle to have a joint meeting between the town and county government. It's my understanding, I requested that Ms. Berry coordinate with Emily,
Mounts.
what should I say?
Mounts?
Yes, to try to find a convenient date for us to have that joint meeting so that we can have at least start the dialogue as far as how we would go about that if we were decided upon and what the ramifications are. I'm sure there's going to take some legal research, some accounting work, but in general it was a good liaison meeting. Any questions for me about that particular part of the meeting? Okay. Next item that I discussed was the potential appointment of a citizen commission to kind of investigate, what we as governments, both the county government, the EDA, which is a quasi-entity, and then the town council. I had a discussion with Mr. Murray about the possibility of forming this commission. It was, I think it was fairly well received as well. Now, the exact nuances of that is to be determined. I think we could discuss that perhaps at our joint meeting. In concept, for me personally, I have the ability as mayor to appoint an ad hoc committee, but I prefer to get your input as council members as far as individuals that you think would be good individuals to serve on a commission such as this. And again, I have no idea whether it's going to be 5 individuals or 7 individuals. I guess if I had a preference today, I would say 5 people. If I had a preference, I probably would suggest that the town council select 2 and the board of supervisors select 2 and the 4 of them select 1. But what I would ask you is to think about that. And if you're so inclined to have citizens that you believe will be able to serve in a impartial manner that would be willing to roll their sleeves up and identify the failings as well as the solutions. Please send me those names. I do not plan to make those names public because I think it's important that citizens be allowed to be asked to volunteer, and if they decide not to get selected, I don't think it's fair to them to publicly not be selected. So please know that if you send me any names, I'll hold them in confidence. Also, as it relates to that matter, be thinking about what the mission of such a commission would be. I know that at the joint meeting, we would probably need to flush some of that out if you as council approve such a commission, as well as the board of supervisors. So we're at the very preliminary stage of that, but I did want to bring council up to speed on those 2 matters. Mr. Gillespie, is that pretty fair, accurate? Okay. Any questions about the commission? I know there's plenty, but Okay, just, the third item that I wanted to mention, this will be brief as well. There's been many citizens have contacted me about running for mayor, and I'm honored. I'm privileged to be able to serve as your interim mayor, and I plan to work closely with you and continue to get a lot of work done. But I made a statement to some of you that I had no intention of running for mayor. My word is my bond, and I do not intend to run for mayor. I have other business interests that are going to take me away for several months, I believe, next year, and it wouldn't be fair to the citizens. I will not rule out in the future, but I did want to make a public statement tonight that I will not be seeking that office. That's all I have for my report. Next on the agenda, proposals for addition, deletion of items of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions? Okay, hearing none, the agenda is accepted as presented. Next on the agenda, the consent agenda. There are no items for the consent agenda. Item 8, council approval. We have bids for various grades of asphalt. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council approve the bid for Stewart and Perry Inc. for various grades of asphalt for general street patching and servicing for the streets in the Virginia Department of Transportation VDOT maintenance system for the FY 2020 at cost stated in the attached bid tabulation summary.
Second.
That's a lot of information there. Okay, the motion's been properly made by Mr. T. Waltz and seconded by Mr. Gillespie. Is there any discussion for this item? Mr. Napier, I assume you've looked through these bids and all the bids meet with proper procurement law?
Yes, sir, they do.
Thank you, Mr. Napier. And Mr. Waltz, you don't have any issues with the bid?
Really, I don't, but I would like to say this. I don't know if all of you have noticed the cost of asphalt. Asphalt has just escalated in cost over the last 10 years. When I was public works director, we was paying $16, $17 a ton. Now we're paying probably close to 90. And so that's why a lot of streets are not being paid, because we firstly don't have the funds to do it. And when you look at a street, you're probably looking at $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 depending on the width and the size and length of the street. So it's really very expensive to come into a town and put a lot of asphalt in, because we don't get that much money from the state, even though we get a lot in one way. But when you take the employees out and all the other things that goes with that, it doesn't leave a whole lot of money left to buy asphalt and pave a lot of the streets. That's why last year, I believe it was last year, that I proposed doing the slurry seal. Don't like slurry seal, but you got to take one or the other. And so slurry seal does work for a period of time. It's not a permanent thing, but it does seal the cracks and helps to preserve the streets. So hopefully that one day in the future that we can consider, especially in our meeting we're going to have in regards to things that we want to do, is we need to really put a lot of emphasis on our streets, because we have a lot of streets that's really getting in very bad condition. And we need to take a look at those and get some money somewhere in order to repair them and keep them in a proper maintenance.
Thank you, Mr. T. Walt. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. Ms. Berry, roll call, please.
Councilman Gillespie.
Yes.
Councilman Mazza.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelock.
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall.
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the bid for various grades of stone. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that council approve the bid from Hanson Aggregates for various grades of stone for street, water, and sewer maintenance for fiscal year 2020 at cost listed on the attached bid tabulation summary. Sorry.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Mr. Gillespie, seconded by Mr. T. Walt. Mr. Gillespie, did you have any comments you wanted to make about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Napier, does this meet procurement?
It does. It does, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now, any other discussion relates to this matter? Okay, Ms. Berry, roll call, please.
Councilman Gillespie.
Yes.
Councilman Mazza.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelock.
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the bid for various treatment chemicals for water and wastewater. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that council approve bids from various companies for various treatment chemicals to be used in the water and wastewater treatment plan for FY 2020 as cost listed in an attached memorandum and bid tabulation sheet.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been properly made by Mr. Meza and seconded by Mr. T-Wall. Mr. Meza, you made the motion. You have any discussion you care to make?
No, sir.
Okay, any discussion from council? Mr. Napier, does this meet the procurement laws?
It does.
Thank you. Ms. Berry, roll call please.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelow?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11 on the agenda, we have a budget amendment to accept local law enforcement block grant. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve a budget amendment in the amount of $3,058 to accept a local law enforcement block grant from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services, Brian Justice Assistance Grant Program, to finalize the complete upgrade and transition to the police department's new radio system at a total cost of $5,520 with a matching fund of $2,480 to be utilized from the police department's asset forfeiture funds.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been properly made by Mr. Seelock and seconded by Mr. T-Wall. Mr. Seelock, do you care to make any comments about this motion?
None.
Thank you. Any council members care to make any comments? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Ms. Berry, roll call please.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelow?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. Now, last item on the agenda is a closed meeting, which is going to be evaluations of the town manager, town attorney, and clerk of council. I would entertain a motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I move that town council will go into a closed meeting to discuss the performance and salaries of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of public body pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.1 of the Code of Virginia.
Thank you. Motion's been properly made by Mr. Seelock and was seconded by Mr. Gillespie. Any discussion? Ms. Berry, roll call please.
Councilman Gillespie?
Yes.
Councilman Meza?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Seelow?
Yes.
Councilman T-Wall?
Yes.
And Councilman Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into closed session. I suspect this will take a fair amount of time, so feel free to stick around. We'll come out of the meeting and go back into open session and adjourn the meeting accordingly. Thank you.